What's up, YouTubers?
What's going on, guys?
Fred and Scott getting ready for episode 66. Just finishing up our live stream setup here, which should be a little bit faster now with some of the new technology we have. We're getting ready to go live.
It's the same technology. We're just using it differently.
That's true. Very true.
All right.
Got a lot to talk about. Not the most exciting week in Birdland, but...
All right, we are live on Facebook.
All right, what's up, Facebook? Let me refresh that on my end. Pull that up. For you Facebookers and YouTubers, are we on live on Twitter now?
We're live on Twitter now.
Man, look at that. We're popping up everywhere really quickly. Getting ready for episode 66. Fred and Scott in the studio. Welcome. Got a lot to talk about. Kind of a depressing week in Birdland. But we'll get into that here in a minute. Be sure to share the post for all you YouTubers, Facebookers, Twitters, the like button, subscribe button, share button, wherever you may be. Do all the things.
Help us grow.
Help us grow. You know, every episode you guys do that, and it means the world to us, and it's really helped us get off the ground with this thing.
I have a VP at my work that sits there and goes, "Let's grow, let's grow." So, all right, I am.
You ready?
I'm ready when you are, sir.
All right. And what's up, Birdland BSers? It's episode 66 of the Birdland BS podcast. This week, the Ravens drop a deuce in Cleveland, but it's on to the Titans, the Terps overmatched in Ann Arbor, and the Orioles starting from scratch. Stay tuned.
It's that time, so let's take it to the Birdland. That Baltimore home flavor is coming firsthand. Fred, Scott, and Ryan, tell them the word, man. Mixing a little BS to make it work, man. Boys, they got it. On excitement, the topic. Make sure when they toss you the ball, you don't drop it. With all that swag, you're gonna listen regardless. Here comes the pitch, so it's time to get it started. It's Birdland BS.
What's up, Birdland BSers? Fred and Scott in the studio, getting ready for episode 66. And this episode is brought to you by John Scheffenmacher of Cummings & Co. Realtors. Are you looking to buy or sell your home? Do you want someone you can trust to go to bat for you? Go see our guy John Scheffenmacher over at Cummings & Co. Realtors. John's been in the business for 4 years now and is dedicated to getting you the best deal possible. Always willing to take your call and be available for you anytime, day or night. For you Birdland fans out there, you may know him as the sunglass guy sitting behind the dugout at Camden Yards. So give John a call at 443-604-6298.
Yeah, Fred, my wife and I actually used John when we bought our house 3 years ago. I was talking to you about this, and he's always willing to take your call. Heck, we called him about seeing a house while we were on vacation. He got us in that house, and we wound up actually purchasing that exact house.
Nice.
Not only is he a strong negotiator who got us the best deal, but he continues to take care of us at his many client events. He's actually got a pumpkin patch one coming up here for the Halloween holiday.
Awesome.
And then with Thanksgiving coming up, he's going to hand deliver me a pie. Fred, you know I love me some pecan pie.
Yes, sir. Who doesn't?
Yeah, right? And so make sure you don't hesitate to give John a call today, 443-604-6298, or email him at johnscheffa@gmail.com. That's JONSCHEFFA@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention that Birdland BS sent you. Now, speaking of Birdland BS, for all of our Birdland BS listeners out there, we've got a contest that we've had going on.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we haven't been able to hit that 1,000 view mark like we've all
so
been wanting
close,
to.
so close on a few of these. Really close.
Several of them. So here's the deal. I made an executive decision here. we're going to lower it from 1,000 to 750.
Let's go, man. Let's give away one of these swag bags.
I want somebody to get a swag bag here. So
share
this post as much as you can. Share this episode as much as you can. And if we hit 750 views on this episode, we will give away a swag bag. And who knows, we may throw something a little special in there for you too.
Yeah.
So be sure to, like we said, share, like. You have to like the post. You have to share the post. If you want to drop us a comment, go ahead. But definitely make sure that you like and share. Those are the two things that'll get you entered for a chance to win that swag bag.
Let's do it, man. Make it happen. 750. We can give away some goodies, man. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so am I. All right, we got to jump straight into the Ravens.
We calling this one Doo-Doo Browns because, man, we dropped a deuce in Cleveland, my friend.
Does that even really begin to describe it?
It was a rough outing, to say the least. What had been a pretty high-flying offense there for the first 4 weeks of the season shut down in Cleveland. Many different reasons that this game wasn't won. The Ravens had their chances to win this game. You can pass the blame around to a few people, and man, I tell you, it's hard to be a Ravens fan and listen to sports talk radio sometimes. It is. I mean, these people.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Golly, ready to jump the ship and throw in the towel on the season. Flacco doesn't have one of his best games, and they're already calling for Lamar Jackson's name. I mean, it's ridiculous. This team is 3-2, guys. Settle down. Take a deep breath. We're gonna be all right. We're 3-2. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty.
I heard somebody go off and we lost to the Browns. We lost to the Browns. It's not the same Browns. Just like Eric Weddle's sitting here saying it's not the same Ravens. If you think it's the same Browns that we've seen the past, however many years, you're crazy.
Right.
You have a guy like Baker Mayfield that's running this offense. The defense has really stepped themselves up, which is they pretty much shut us down from anything. We barely got in the red zone. We got in the red zone twice?
Yeah.
So, and then one was an interception in the red zone.
Yeah, it was bad interception. Bad interception.
Yeah, I mean that one was on Joe, but we'll get into that in a few. But for me, the big thing about this game was the Ravens were the Ravens in the sense that they underestimated their opponent and they didn't make situational changes.
I agree with that.
Up 100%. Until overtime, the defense was actually doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, look, you gave up 9 points in regulation, 60 minutes of football. You gave up 9 points.
Yeah.
You gave your team in overtime 2 opportunities to win the game. The defense wasn't the issue here.
No, absolutely not.
You look at Baker's numbers. Baker put up over 300 yards passing and whatnot. Yeah, they did give up some chunk yardage play, but when push came to shove,
300 yards passing on 1 touchdown?
Right. Bend, don't break. And that's what the Ravens did here. They did give up some of those chunk yardages between the 20s and whatnot, but again, when push came to shove and they got down the field, the Ravens were able to make plays, shut them down. And again, look, you tell me that you're only going to give up 9 points in regulation. 10 out of 10 times I'm betting on the Ravens to win that game.
Absolutely.
I don't care who it's against. So just ease up a little bit, Birdland. Like, we're going to be all right. It was a tough loss. It sucks, especially coming off of such a big win in Pittsburgh. The emotional flip-flop of that, going from a huge win in Pittsburgh on the road and Cleveland. Not that you're expecting to win in Cleveland. I mean, that's kind of been the way it's been over the years. But going into this year, if you paid attention to anything, you knew the Cleveland Browns were a much improved football team. There's no getting around that. The acquisitions that they made in the offseason, Baker Mayfield now taking over as the leader on this team. This was not a gimme game by any chance, by any stretch. And, the one thing that the Browns have is a very, very strong defense. And that showed against the Ravens.
The Browns, in all reality, let's think about this. The Browns, as far as many people are concerned, the Browns, despite being the Browns in bad scenarios, the Browns should be 4-1 right now.
Could very easily be 4-1.
Very easily.
Yeah.
I would imagine, I hadn't even looked up a stat, but I'd imagine they've played the most overtime games so far this year.
Yeah.
Out of any team.
Let's dive a little bit into some of the aspects of the game and some of the things that we were looking at going into this week. One of the things that I knew that we were going to have to do is we were going to have to stay committed to the running game. Keep feeding Alex Collins and keep feeding Buck Allen because they haven't been doing that enough. They need to get that started. And they did that on the first drive of the game. First drive of the game, they came out. Collins was taking chunk yardage gains and Allen on the ground, really. But they just didn't stick to it. I mean, if you looked at it, I think Collins ended up with a 4.9 yard per carry average in this game. That's pretty darn good. You don't abandon that. No. It's not like this team was playing from...
Remember, if he carries that ball twice...
Yeah, that's a first down. You're progressing.
You're half a yard or a yard from the first down.
Right. And the thing is, you didn't get punched in the mouth in this game like you did in Cincinnati, where you were down 21 and you got to throw.
The defense was never on their heels.
Right. You obviously see things in the passing game aren't going your way. Crabtree's got bricks for hands, dropping passes left and right. Joe wasn't Joe that we've seen so far this year. Joe was off. There's something about Joe in the state of Ohio. I don't know what it is about him, but he does not play well in Cincinnati and does not play well in Cleveland. That's just been a historic thing for Joe. And that trend continued this week.
He has, I swear to you, he's got an ex-girlfriend in Ohio.
That's
what it is. I'm putting money down.
Something's going on. I don't know if it's a mental thing or, like you said, he's got some kind of other baggage going on in Ohio. But look, Joe Flacco's Joe Flacco. He's not an elite quarterback. We can all agree on that. I don't care if you think that he's elite. Well, then there's something wrong with you. But he's a damn good quarterback. He's an above average quarterback. And he's having a career year this season. But again, we go back to what I've been saying pretty much all year. The answer is not Flacco throwing the ball over 50 times a game. You've got to get the run game more involved. And I don't know, Marty and I believe in the run game and I'm committed to the run game and blah, 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 blah. Show it. What's going on here? Like, why are we not running the ball?
I don't know if you saw the Harbaugh interview yesterday, but Harbaugh's response was basically, I don't know why everybody's calling it. We don't have a balanced offense. We have the sixth most rushing attempts in the league. Da, da, da. I don't care when you can have the sixth most rushing attempts, but if you were rushing the ball 1 out of every 4 times.
Yeah.
That's not a balanced offense.
No, it's not. Now, look, it doesn't need to be 50-50.
No.
That 50-50 doesn't equate balance.
70-30, 60-40.
It's a flow of the game type thing. And whether that's 60-40, whether that's, 55-45, whatever it may be, it's a flow of the game type thing. And I would get it if Cleveland is completely, loading the box and shutting the run game down. That, maybe there for a drive or two, you commit to the passing game just so that they have to respect the pass, and then you work the run back in. So that sways the statistics,
right?
Because that's just the ebb and flow of a game. But when you're taking chunk yardage like Collins was on that first drive, you don't get rid of that. You don't abandon that.
You can't abandon that.
And it's frustrating. And then you've got a guy who's you brought him in to be your number one. Maybe he's not a true number one wide receiver in Michael Crabtree, who I don't know if it's just mental right now. I don't know what's going on with him, but I mean, he's got 6 or 7 drops now on the season.
He's got the most in the NFL.
That's drops that the NFL's counting as a drop.
Right.
There were other balls that he could have caught that he didn't, that they're not accounting for in those statistics. He leads the NFL in drop passes. Now, again, this isn't something that is new with Crabtree. Crabtree has had drop issues in the past, but some of these, like he said in his interview after the game, it's a concentration thing. It's getting back to the lab and taking 2,000 balls off the jug machines, whatever it takes. But when you're getting paid the money you're getting paid, you need to make those catches.
You have to make those catches. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to make those. It hits you in the hands. I've heard people say, "Oh, he's fully extended. That's Joe's fault." I tell you what, it's the same thing I said with Perriman during the preseason. Go look at his arms. His arms are at a 90-degree angle. It hit him in the hands. You are a professional player.
Right.
You need to catch that ball. You are paid to catch that ball. Now, to his credit, he came out to the media and didn't shy away from it.
No, he's taken ownership of it, and I respect the hell out of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was expecting to hear this.
At the end of the day, it's football.
Oh, that was in there. That was in there. If you listen to his interview, it's the end of the day. It's football. I got to get back to the lab and start catching balls off the jugs machine, whatever it takes, 2,000 catches. Look, it's a problem. And it's historically been a problem with Ravens wide receivers. I don't know what it is.
But ultimately, he's not a Perriman. He's not a Lee Evans.
Oh, look, I don't care what anybody out there says. I'll take Crabtree 11 out of 10 times over Perriman. I don't care what you say.
Your math is wrong. You're discontinued from that comment there.
But no, it's frustrating because you got a chance to win the game. Flacco throws the ball, and albeit it was in a very tight window, and if you go back and you look at it and you watch like some of the defenders, maybe Crabtree didn't have the best view of the ball, but nonetheless, big players make big plays in big games, and yeah, you might have dropped a couple of passes out in the field earlier. That's where you make that up. That's where you make the catch, like you did against Buffalo.
Exactly.
He came out in that game against Buffalo, made a couple of drop passes, and then made a spectacular catch in the back of the end zone. One of the best toe taps I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever seen.
Absolutely.
This game, he didn't come up the hero. And, again, not to point the finger at just Crabtree, this team had multiple opportunities to win this game. And, one of the plays, take, for instance, Chris Moore, right? Chris Moore, you haven't really seen much of him all this year. He comes in, makes a huge, huge third down conversion in overtime. But then the very next play, he's flagged for a block in the back on a big 17-yard run game by Collins that ended up taking them out of field goal range, which could have won the game for them.
It's the mental mistakes.
Yeah, it's mental mistakes. Now, I mean, the call was questionable. If you go back again and you look at it and you see him, I mean, I think it was inadvertent. He wasn't trying to do the block. He was actually just kind of blocked into him, trying to get away from him.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you can't be in those situations. You can't have that kind of flag. Not in a game like that. I was sitting there with Ryan. Ryan and I watched the game, and I kept saying, it's ugly. But at the end of the day, just win it. Just get a field goal, win this game, and just chalk it up as we played an ugly game. But you know what? At the end of the day, we won. And they couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, they couldn't. They couldn't at all. And that's, the other thing that you and I kind of talked about on the offensive side of the ball was really not seeing Hurst as involved as we probably would have liked him to be. And just the overall lack of the use of tight ends. Mark Andrews a little bit was utilized. Max Williams was utilized a little, but not nearly what we've seen them utilize in the past. If you're going to be having Joe throw the ball, I'd rather him be throwing some of these shots over the middle to some of those guys. And I tell you what, big guy that has really stepped up to me that needs to continue and for all intents and purposes has moved to the number one spot for me is Willie Snead.
Yeah, Willie Snead's got sure hands.
Absolutely.
Sure hands, and he's made some big catches when they matter the most on third
down. And for a small guy, he's not willing to he's not afraid to take that hit in the middle of the field.
Turn it up, go upfield, and take the hit.
Exactly.
He's willing to do that. And that's to your credit. You had said something about that earlier in the season that, sometimes people, instead of going north and south with the ball, they're going east and west, and they're not getting those extra yardage, an extra yard or two just on an outstretched play.
It's a game of inches.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, a couple yards here and there on each catch gets you closer to field goal. We've got one of the best kickers in the NFL. They were saying Justin Tucker was out there making 64-yard field goals prior to the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much to get into field goal range for him.
No.
And those little things go a long way when it comes to getting in field goal range and getting those extra yards. And I agree with you. I don't want to bash Crabtree because I think he can fix this. I think he can, wrap his mind around what he needs to do, and he will get, quote unquote, back in the lab and get this figured out. But in the meantime, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more out of Chris Moore, and I wouldn't mind seeing Willie Snead more involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to give them both involved. Like we said, Hurst needs to be involved a little bit more as well. I think he was targeted once.
Yeah.
throughout the entire game.
Right.
When Joe's throwing the ball more than 50 times and Hurst, your first draft pick isn't targeted.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Well, Ryan and I were making comments about that too. I'm searching Twitter because I'm trying to find out, like, did Hurst get hurt again? Like, did he re-aggravate the injury? You just didn't see him out there. I figured he'd be on a play count type thing where, they probably want to just kind of work him back into the game. But there were a couple of situations where you're like, man, it'd be really nice to see him out in the field because he could help us get an extra couple yards, or he might be able to help us, down the middle of the field, down in between the seams. And you didn't see him out there. And again, searching Twitter looking for an injury because I thought he was hurt.
Yeah, no.
But just turns out that they legit had him on a play count and they stuck to it.
Yeah, no. I mean, and we've been talking a lot about the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, for me, they did a good job of containing Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
For the most part, 300 passing yards, whatever, that didn't tell the tale of the game.
Right.
When you limited him the way that you did, the secondary, Brandon Carr,
yeah,
silently good game.
He's had a good year so far. A guy that, like I said last week, I had kind of written off and thought that he might be, a cap casualty type cut, after the training camp and everything. Glad he wasn't, because with all the injuries that we've had and with the suspension of Jimmy Smith, which I think extended his stay here in Baltimore, he's proven his value, he's proven his worth, and he's proven that, a veteran corner like him is always good to have on your roster.
Absolutely. He can handle it. He can get through it, and
another guy
not going to be a problem.
Yeah, another guy that's been playing really well. I talked about him a little bit last week, and it's kind of the unsung hero on the defense for me, Anthony Levine.
Yeah.
I called him a Swiss Army knife last week, and that's exactly what he is. This guy is all over the field, pass deflections, big stops on third downs.
Huge stops on third downs.
Sure tackler, just, a utility player. And, man, you don't hear his name called enough, and you don't see him get the recognition that he deserves.
No.
But he's having one hell of a season so far. And again, it stinks because it's a wasted effort. Again, you only give up 12 points in 70 minutes of football. The defense, again, yes, they did give up chunks. They did give up, big yardage. And let me tell you, Baker Mayfield, like I said, he's the real deal. This kid's going to have a long NFL career. Barring injury, he's going to have a long career. What he was able to do to get away from pressure and extend plays and be able to throw with precise accuracy on the run under pressure to extend drives and get third down conversions, man. Especially when the pressure's on. This is a young guy in his first home NFL start.
Right, exactly.
And man, he I'm not gonna say he lit it up, but he put on a show.
No, absolutely. And some people are taking a little too far with some of the comparisons to, Favre and Rodgers and some of the. Look, are there aspects of those guys' games that you're seeing out of Baker Mayfield so far? Yes. But the difference of what makes a great quarterback is sustainability. They have to be able to sustain that type of play over the course of a few years. There's a lot of, especially quarterbacks, that come into the NFL in their first year, or when they get their first chance, they really light it up.
Right.
But then coaching or whatever it is triggers this, well, we don't necessarily want you to go that route.
Right.
And so then it brings down the player's confidence and does a lot of different things.
Connor on YouTube chimed in and said, the Browns haven't lost a game by more than a possession yet. Their defense is for real. People are overrating this loss, especially on the road. I'm right there with you. That's what I'm saying. I think people need to get off the ledge a little bit, realize that this is a much improved football team. Whether the Ravens were as prepared or not as they could have been, maybe that's the question mark. But look, they ran into a much improved football team. And on the road, in a hostile environment, because Cleveland now, man, they've got something to cheer about. They ain't have something to cheer about in a very long time. So if you had your volume turned up on your TV,
the dog pound's going to start. The dog pound's going to start being like the black hole.
Yeah, the dog pound's for real. Like that's a fan base. Like in the closet waiting to come out just to have something to cheer about, and they finally do.
For Baltimore fans, here's the equivalency. Browns fans are like Orioles fans when they hit the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Think about how loud Camden Yards was during the playoffs. This team hasn't even been winning. And go back to 2012 when the Orioles really started this winning process. The stadium was loud for even just small games. So it's for people to be saying, oh, they're over. I absolutely agree with what Connor is saying.
Yeah. The only thing, and just to wrap up the Browns so we can get into this week's matchup a little bit about the Titans, the one thing that is, again, kind of concerning, special teams. Yet another blocked field goal.
Off the end this time instead of over the middle. Or the punt was over the middle.
Right. This is a problem that the Ravens haven't had in a very, very long time. Special teams has been sound. Something's amiss. Something's going on. Now, granted, the first field goal block, it was questionable whether the guy jumped the line and all that stuff, but these are just things that don't happen to the Ravens. And it's, I was talking to Ryan about this. I think the way the NFL judges field goal percentages is kind of crappy in my opinion. The fact that Justin Tucker has 2 quote-unquote missed field goals.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous.
When it's not his fault that, the line didn't hold up and the field goal was blocked. I get it affects everybody, but that's another conversation for another time. But special teams is a concern. Obviously, you had Tim White, who was cut this week, and the Ravens re-signed Cyrus Jones from the Patriots. So he'll be involved, I'm sure. With
no
the
more
return
taking
game.
any calls from Bill Belichick, Cyrus. Please.
Welcome home, Cyrus. We're glad to have you, and hopefully, hopefully he'll make some exciting plays.
He's a Gilman native.
Yeah, from Baltimore. Played his high school football at Gilman. An exciting returner in his day, at Alabama.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and this was a guy that I know the Ravens were kind of high on in the draft. Now he hasn't lived up to expectations, hence why he's kind of bouncing around between these two teams. But either way, he brings a little bit of depth to the corner, and hopefully he brings us some solidify the return game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one more note here, by the way, this is my transition here for this. When we go against the Titans, can we please put Deuce on the line?
His uniform was about as clean could be this week. I saw they lined up Baker, Deuce, and Mark Andrews for a picture after the game because they obviously all from Oklahoma. And Deuce's uniform is about as clean could be. Let's get this man dirty. Let's get him out of the field. Ryan and I were actually talking about this the other day. The only thing I've heard about Deuce is that maybe he's struggling a little bit to pick up the playbook, kind of like Terrell Suggs. When Terrell Suggs first came into the league, they said he wasn't all there. He wasn't the smartest and he wasn't the swiftest as far as.
Did you sit Terrell Suggs?
No, you didn't sit Terrell Suggs. You're absolutely right. And from what we saw in Deuce in the preseason, I mean, he did pretty darn well in the preseason. I don't
care if it's a limited playbook in preseason. The guy proved himself to me. I don't care if that is the true case.
Right.
And you and I were talking about this at one point, and I think last week. If that's the true case, I don't care. I want Deuce on that line because not that Hurst has been doing a completely bad job, but Deuce was doing it better in preseason.
Matt brings up a point. Cyrus Jones, the one who fumbled 5 times and got cut, sound familiar? You're right, Matt. Like I said, he has not lived up to expectations. But I think that the Ravens are at this point just pulling at straws, trying to find somebody that can hold on to the damn football.
You got to figure out something.
Yeah, and I mean, and somebody who might have that Jacoby Jones effect where he can make an explosive play. You weren't going to get that in Tim White. Tim White was going to get you a few yards here and there, but he wasn't a shifty guy. He was more of a north-south runner, straight-ahead kind of runner. Grant, he was a shifty runner, but he didn't have the breakaway type speed, and obviously he had issues with dropping as well. So the Ravens are, like I said, just pulling at straws, trying to find somebody to return. So we'll see. Hopefully maybe a fresh start here in Baltimore, being back home. Maybe that leads to some success for Cyrus. We'll see. But yeah, man, let's get into this Titans game a little bit. This one had me worried. Looking at the schedule from in the beginning of the year, just going down wins and losses and figuring out where this team was going to finish. This game I had marked on the schedule as a game that worried me. They struggled with Tennessee last year, and Dean Pease being back, going in Tennessee now. Obviously, there's nobody on another football team that knows the Ravens offense better than Dean Pease, knows our,
normal
playbook. Now, I know he hasn't worked with Marty Morton. He didn't work with Marty Morningwood for long, but he knows what this Ravens team is capable of. He also can give them intel on defense as far as lineups and, when they see certain
saw it
things.
in practice.
Exactly. I mean, this defense hasn't really changed significantly from Dean Pease to Wink. Where it's changed has more been on the adjustments, the in-game adjustments, and giving players a little bit more flexibility to make changes, on the field.
Right.
But, I mean, when you're looking at disguises and you're looking at blitzing and things of that nature, not a whole lot of difference between the two. So this one worries me. This is a game that I'm not confident in. We'll get into the predictions in a little while, but what's your take on this game?
I mean, my thing is we got to get to Mariota early and often because, like you said, this is a game that scared both of us at the beginning of the year. I have to go back and actually look at our predictions. I can't remember whether I took a win against the Titans or not, especially on the road. But here's the thing. We've got to get to them early and often. When we can get to when our guys are getting to the quarterback, we're succeeding.
Yeah.
Browns, we didn't get to Baker Mayfield as much as we wanted to. We held him in check, but that was mainly the secondary keeping close tabs on their receivers and their tight ends.
Right.
But overall, you've got to get that defensive line. You've got to get in Mariota's face, and you've got to put him on his heels. You put Mariota on his heels, and he has a proven track record of starting to fail when he's on his heels. When he's throwing off of one foot, when he's not able, when he doesn't have the room.
When he's not comfortable.
Yeah, when he doesn't have the room to get out of the pocket.
Right.
You need to basically collapse that pocket from the outside in. Mm-hmm. Put it in that I call it the horseshoe. Put him in that horseshoe where he's got nowhere to go. Period.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him. He has the ability to be mobile and to get away and to extend plays and things of that nature. And whether that means you keep a linebacker spied on him so that you've got somebody on him at all times, or like you said, you collapse the pocket around him to keep him, inside and don't allow him to get to the outside and make extend plays. Whatever you got to do to make him uncomfortable. Pass rush needs to improve. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Statistically, if you're looking at it, the Ravens are blitzing on about 20 to 30% of their plays. They need to ramp that up a little bit, I think, personally. I think
they need to be about 40-45%.
They need to make him uncomfortable. I get it, that they're doing this to try to put more people in coverage and, play a little bit more tighter pass defense, that kind of thing. But you get Jimmy Smith back. You've got some players that can really lock down on the outside with Marlon Humphrey and Jimmy Smith. You've got two guys that can lock down on the outside. You send your outside backers and you really try to get to Mariota and disrupt him to make him feel uncomfortable. That's how you're going to win this game. That's how you're going to keep this team off the scoreboard. And hopefully they can do that.
Yeah, and the other thing you've got to do is you've got to do what we were talking about before with the thing that apparently John Harbaugh disagrees with. You've got to get the offense in a balanced attack.
Right.
If Joe is lighting it up and he's got like 4 touchdowns because you've thrown the ball 35 times in the first half, okay.
Right.
If the defense is giving up some points or whatever, okay, you can stick with throwing the ball a little bit more. But if it's not working, you can't. That is literally the definition of insanity.
Doing the same
thing, expecting a different result.
Yep.
You can't do it. You have to really have that balanced attack and expect it to be the same thing. I think they're 15-2.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. No, 2-15. I think it is. when Joe throws the ball for more than 50 yards. Or for more than 50 times.
Yeah, he's only won one, maybe 2 games in his career when he's thrown that many times. It's like I said a million times. It's not the winning formula for Ravens football. It's not the winning formula for Joe Flacco. You got to have that balance. And Collins might be a little bit banged up. There's been some concern with his knee and that kind of thing. But like I said, in that first drive against the Browns, he looked good to me. He was taking chunk yardage. He looked good. But look, you got a guy in Delance Turner on the bench who we haven't seen a whole lot out of him. He did show some big play ability in the preseason. It's the whole reason that he made the squad. Right. Give him some snaps. If you're not going to go out and bring in another veteran back or make a trade for another veterin back or anything like that. I hear
Le'Veon Bell may be available.
That would be interesting.
We couldn't afford that.
No. And I wouldn't want that headache. He's a great player and all, don't get me wrong, but but you got to do something. And, as I like Buck Allen, I think he's a good change of pace back and he's a good receiving back. And he's played decently this year, but again, they're not committing to it enough. And it's disappointing because you can really see the potential in this offense. They show flashes and they have played really well. But again, it's a balance thing for me.
Yeah, no, it has to be a balanced attack, especially when you're going up against, like you said, Dean Pease. When you're going up against Dean Pease, you have to. And Matt brings up another great point about the Titans not having very many receivers, so you got to control their running game a little bit more from the defensive side of the ball. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he brings up the idea of he asked how do we feel about the Lamar gimmick stuff.
Yeah, the Lamar gimmick stuff, I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks. They need to scratch it. It's not that I don't think it's been productive because, when you go and look at his stats, when he runs the ball, he's getting 5, 6, 7 yards on a pop. It's productive. But I just think the risk reward there with him, there's a lot of layers to it, right? If you drafted this guy in the first round, you obviously drafted this guy to be the quarterback of your future, right? You don't want to mortgage your future if you see him as your future for a 5 or 6 yard gain and he blows his knee out, tears his ACL, tears his LCL, and now has a concussion. Has a concussion. One of his main tools is now garbage because he's got a torn up knee. You don't want to run that risk.
And then in the meantime, you're also we talked about it before, you're throwing off the rhythm of Joe.
That was going to be my next point. Exactly. You break up whatever rhythm that Flacco may have had. The only thing I'll say about the gimmick thing is, and Ryan and I were talking about this, we were watching the game. It was cool to finally see him throw a ball other than, just taking it and running with it. But yeah, right. I just, again, I don't think it's worth it.
I think James brings up a great point. He just said they need to look at what the Saints do with Hill. That's a great point. Have you seen what they do with him?
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything that the Saints were doing with Hill up until last night on Monday Night Football. And man,
Talk about a Swiss Army knife.
That's how you use a guy. But Hill, man, you look at him and he looks like he could be a slot receiver. He could be an H-back. He's got a beefy build to him. Lamar is a lanky, he's shifty.
Hill's got a tight end type look to him.
Yeah, he's got a bulk. He's got a big bulk to him. Lamar just doesn't have that kind of a frame, and I just feel like you risk injury with having Lamar out there. And I honestly, like I said before, I don't think Joe likes it. And I think it pisses Joe off. And I think, again, you see him just kind of stand there like a statue when the play, it's basically 10 on 11 at that point. I'm hoping at some point during this year, that's what another team thinks, is that we've got 10 on 11 football, and then Joe Flacco goes down the field and we hit it for a touchdown to win a game. But
here's the problem with that. If Joe never moves, and the one time you're making that play, you're going to have Joe move. The second Joe starts to go down the field, that safety is coming.
Right, but the idea is that he never moves, so they're not paying him any attention. That's the
right,
idea.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
It's
is
stupid.
Even if they're not paying him attention, you really think Joe's going to be able to outrun a cornerback?
No.
Okay, that's my point.
No.
Is the cornerback's going to get to him as soon as they see Joe come off the line, somebody, I don't care how far in they are playing, somebody is going towards Joe.
Right.
And then it's 10 on 10, but at the same time, if that's what you're trying to work up, this is the NFL. This isn't Pee Wee. This isn't high school. This is the NFL.
Right.
These guys are paid and trained. If Joe has done every single time he lines up, he doesn't move.
Right.
The one time he moves, somebody is going to be on him like white on rice.
Gimmicky offenses have never worked in the NFL. It's just it's historically never worked. That's why you don't even hear about the Wildcat anymore. You know, the Wildcat worked there for a little while in Miami when Miami ran that, but then once defenses planned for it and once defenses figured it out, that was it. Game over. Wildcat doesn't work anymore. It's the same thing with these gimmick plays with Lamar. Everybody knows what's coming, and it's just, again, it's not worth the risk, in my opinion.
No, not at all.
All right, well, let's get into our predictions for the week. We'll hop right into this. Well, let's recap. So last week, it was kind of a hit or miss week. I was 3-1 with my picks. Obviously, the one loss was the Ravens.
I was 3-1 with mine.
You were 3-1. Your loss was, I can't believe you picked the Redskins to beat the Saints. That was.
I thought Samaje P. Ryan was going to
close your eyes and make a pick there. What the hell was that? You picked the Redskins to beat the Saints in New Orleans. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you there. You would have had a clean sweep.
Yeah, I would have.
Ryan went 2 for 2 on the week. His losses were he picked the Cowboys to beat the Texans. Another head scratcher there, Ryan. I don't understand that, but he also picked the Ravens.
I'll give him credit. If you look at his score on that game, his
score was great.
19-14. The final score was 19-16.
That game was a lot closer than I expected it to be. Honestly, I thought the Texans might actually blow them out in that game, but yeah, now Cowboys defense played well in that game. But that puts me at 11-2 on the year, you at 10-3, and Ryan at 5-2. Let's get into this week. Ravens go into Tennessee. Play against the Titans, 4:25 kickoff. I've got the Ravens. I'll start. I do have the Ravens winning this. It's a game I worry about. It's a game I'm concerned about. It's going to be tight. It's going to probably come down to the kickers in this game. I've got the Ravens winning this one 23-20. Ryan also taking the Ravens. Looks like we're a bunch of homers with these picks. Ravens 23-14. He's got that a little bit bigger of a win. And Scott,
I've got the Ravens again. I've got 27-17. I think it's going to be the offense is going to come back out and get it going. And I think we're ultimately going to have a good game. We've also had a few comments, by the way. Connor on YouTube said he thinks it's going to be the Ravens 13-6 in this game.
All right.
And then for Facebook, Sherry says 21-17.
Sam says, who predict Redskins over the Saints? Laughing my fucking ass off. Yeah, that would be your boy, Scott.
All right, you know what?
Sitting across here. So, yeah, let him have it, Sam. Hey, Sam, appreciate you sending us the photo. Sam, fan of ours out in Louisville, Kentucky, went to our Birdland BS store and bought one of our Under Armour Birdland BS shirts and sent us a picture. We appreciate that. We're going to get that loaded up on the site. So appreciate you tuning in as always.
And guys, also, don't hesitate to go to the website. We
loaded up a whole new website with gear and a whole bunch of different things. So go to the website, check out the gear page. Pretty cool.
Whole new page of everything. And while you're there, you can actually customize it.
Yeah,
just like you could on the previous site that we were using, you can customize it. But the other cool thing that you and I are getting together is we're working on a page on our website and hopefully an album on the Facebook page where it is going to be you, our fans, in Birdland BS gear and wearing it wherever random places.
The more random place with the Birdland BS gear, the better. We're going to make it a for fans by fans page on the website and on the Facebook page. So we're going to have fun with it. It's a way for you guys to get some gear. We're making absolutely no money on this gear. We have it just for branding purposes. We're just trying to get the name out there.
Yeah.
So we made the prices as cheap as we possibly could. Just so that we can get the name out there. So we appreciate any support that we get from you guys going on the website and doing that. But let's get into this week's games. Again, we got we went through the Ravens. Thursday night football, we got the Eagles going into New York to take on the Giants. Giants coming off a very disappointing loss against Carolina, where they saw themselves come back after being down pretty big in that game, and then lose it on a field goal against the Panthers. What do you see in the Eagles and Giants game?
Eagles, look, the Eagles aren't the Eagles that everybody was anticipating them to be coming back off the Super Bowl year, but I do think they're going to have a decent game here. I think I've got the Eagles winning 35-17. The Giants are just a freaking mess. Odell is continuing to be in the media and continuing to cause problems for that team. I think he still wants to be traded. That's yet to be seen. But I ultimately think this is going to be an Eagles game, 35-17.
All right, I've got the Eagles winning this one in a closer game. I think Saquon Barkley blows up in this game.
Really?
I think Saquon Barkley has a big game, keeps it close for the Giants, but I got the Eagles winning this one 31-27. And Ryan's going bold here with the upset. Ryan's got the Giants winning this game 24-21.
Close game.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Then we got Sunday Night Football in probably the most exciting primetime game. Expect a hell of a lot of points in this one. We got the Chiefs at 5-0 going into New England, 3-2, coming off a huge win. Patriots probably, in my opinion, I think they're looking for a little revenge after last year's opening night loss to the Chiefs. So I have the Patriots winning this. And again, another tight, high-scoring game. I've got it 33-31. I think it comes down to a field goal at the end.
Yeah, I've got the Chiefs winning this. I don't think it's going to be – I think the Chiefs go 6-0. And I think it's going to be, again, still a tight game. I've got a four-point variation on this, 32-28 Chiefs. And then Ryan thinks it's going to be a one-score game as well. He's got a little bit larger, but he thinks Chiefs as well, 34-27.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting game. That
so I'm the sole Patriot on this one, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Monday Night Football in what should have been an exciting game with the Packers at home, Aaron Rodgers going up against Tom Brady's pupil in Jimmy Garoppolo. That doesn't happen this year with Garoppolo being out with the knee injury. I think the 49ers limp into Lambeau. Packers sitting at 2-1. The 49ers sitting at 1-4. I got the Packers winning this in a landslide, easy, 30-19.
Yeah, I've got this one pretty well landslide as well. I've got a little bit larger score, 34-17. Packers, kind of a no-doubter here. Clay Matthews will get flagged for another roughing the passer, I'm sure. And Ryan has this one, 21-17 Packers.
Yeah, so clean sweep there. Time for a social media shout out. We've had quite a few people commenting on Facebook, so we're going to start there. Joe Reinhardt, I see you. Sherry, as always, appreciate you sharing. I saw all the notifications of the shares. Carrie, hey, good to see you. James, Trish, it's good to see you watching, Trish. I appreciate it. James, as always, my friend. Scott, are you watching over there? That's weird.
Yeah.
Ryan, Ryan, you're not here, but you're here in spirit. You're watching. I appreciate it, man. Let's see who else we got here. Deborah, I haven't seen you on the live feed, so good to see you. And you're Matt. Good to see you. Love all the interaction. Love all the comments, man. Sorry if I couldn't get to all of them, but appreciate the interactions. And who else do I got? I know I had one or two more people in here. Looks like David Piles. First time I've seen you in the chat, so appreciate you tuning in.
Yep.
And Nikki, appreciate you. Appreciate everything that you do.
Yeah, I've got Carla. I've also got Ryan, big Terps fan.
Ryan, appreciate you. The ticket hookup, man. I know it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but appreciate you doing what you did.
Yeah, and then we have Nikki and Zach actually just chimed in, and then on YouTube, quite a few people watching, only a few people commenting. We have Khalil15X that has joined in and commented. Samuel Jackson and Connor Burke are the three that have commented. Those are the only ones that we can really see. On Twitter, we've had plenty of people. I've seen Josh Soroka. I've seen Birdland Sports, Bad Money Johnny, and some of our other usual listeners. Unfortunately, this setup doesn't allow me to go back like the other one did to be able to see
all right. Well, we're everywhere. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Look, we appreciate each and every one of you tuning in as always.
And don't forget, guys, if you're just joining us or you haven't been, make sure to like and share this post.
Yeah.
Facebook is probably the easiest. It gives us our most traction. So even if you're on Twitter or YouTube, go check us out on Facebook. Go like and share on Facebook. That's where
750.
750 is the views.
750 is the number. We're trying to get the 750 views on any of these platforms for this video, and we're giving away a Birdland BS swag bag, shirt, stickers, and some other goodies. We want to give one of those away. That's why we brought the number down, to make it easy, make it more obtainable, and we know we'll get there. All it takes is a few shares from you guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody just share as much as you can. Share in any platform that you can.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys are watching on Facebook, especially, I know Facebook has had some issues in the past of not allowing shares in certain groups and things like that. We've resolved that. We gave a little comment there that says it's good to go.
Troy, we see you on there, buddy. Appreciate you tuning in on YouTube. Let's get back to some football talk, man. We got to talk Terps.
Jay Strout just joined on Twitter, by the way.
What's going on, man? Terps football. So Terps go into Michigan and Ann Arbor and lose an expected football game. I didn't see the Terps being able to win this game.
I didn't expect the score to be as bad as it was, but
yeah. I mean, Terps lose 42-21. Really, the highlight of the game was Ty Johnson's 98 kickoff return, 98-yard kickoff return early in the first quarter, which was the only lead of the game for the Terps. Terps' run game was pretty much held in check all game. Look, Michigan's defense is no joke. They, not just in the Big Ten, they are, if not the best, they're definitely a top 3 defense in the country.
Absolutely.
And they played that way. They're at home. Yeah, well, I know you've never been to Michigan.
No.
I've never actually been there for a football game, but I have been there for a tour of the stadium. That's 109,000 screaming people.
They packed that place
every single week. There was 109,000 people there this week for the Maryland football game. That's a hostile environment to play in, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, like you said, didn't expect it to be as high scoring. There really wasn't a whole lot of pressure from the D. Gave their quarterback way too much time to make decisions and make reads. There were some questionable penalties and some questionable ejections in this game, to say the least. Trey Watson playing a hell of a game until he got thrown out
for the targeting.
For the targeting, again, my opinion, pretty questionable call.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Him and Rashad Lewis, both 2 players from Maryland, ejected for targeting.
You know who Rashad Lewis is, right?
No,
it's Ray Ray's son, I believe.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I believe so.
Wasn't even paying attention.
I think he
to that.
transferred from. Man, where did he come from?
I didn't realize he was playing for Michigan. I thought he was playing somewhere else.
I can't remember where he transferred from, but yeah, nonetheless, tough loss, but expected loss. Like when you're playing against the likes of the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Penn States, these are the games you go right down in your calendar and you say, probably an L there, probably an L there, probably an L there. But look, we've got a pretty weak team coming up next in Rutgers. This is a game where you really will need to get back on track.
You need to do to Rutgers what you did. Both ejections will miss the first half of Rutgers, according to Ryan.
Wow. Yeah, that's
that sucks.
Unfortunate, because some questionable decisions on those ejections.
Yeah, but
in my opinion.
This Rutgers game, you need to come out on this Rutgers team like you did against Minnesota. You need to just run the ball, light him up, have Hill throw, have Kasim Hill, give him plenty of time, have him throw the ball well. They really have to be able to do it quickly and get the running game. In my opinion, the running game needs to get back on track. Since you lost, I think it was it Henderson that we lost.
Yeah.
I think since you've lost him, you really have to look and say, we've got to get the running game back to being a little bit more balanced. To where you're not putting all the pressure on Hill.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about this with the Ravens. It's very similar with the Terps. They've got to have more balance to be not as predictable, because what will end up happening is if you just continue to run the football, look, it's Maryland's strength. It's no doubt their strength. They've got backs for days in Maryland that are all very productive running backs, but if you get a team like Temple that comes in and just stacks the box and says, look, we're going to stop the run, you're going to have to beat us with the pass. And Maryland wasn't able to do that against Temple. That's where that's where this game could, even though Maryland's a 25-point favorite in this game, it should, again, you look at it on paper, this should be a cakewalk for the Terps. This could be where you have one of those, we expected to just be able to run the ball down the throat. We kept it that way and we game planned it that way, and then we ended up losing a game to a team that we shouldn't lose to.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this game could hinge the rest of this season.
Yeah.
And here's why. You've got Rutgers, Illinois, and Indiana as being the three that you have the best chance of winning.
You got to get 6. You got 3
and we're
so
3 and
far.
2. Yeah, we're 3 and 2. So those are your 3 best chances. So you'd have to win out. And if you don't win one of those, then you have to upset Iowa or Michigan State, who are our best chances. Because with this game against Michigan was ranked number 15 coming into this.
Right.
You really think we're going to be able to handle number 3 Ohio State and number 8 Penn State? I really don't think so.
Ohio State's going to come in here with Dwayne Haskins, and he's going to light this defense up.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, he is.
I'm a Terps fan, but I'm a realist at the same time. I mean, this Ohio State.
Don't
Michigan,
lie, you're an
Penn
Ohio
State.
State fan.
I am an Ohio State fan too. Don't get me wrong. I grew up on Ohio State, but this team is not ready for the likes of those two. So you're right. You're absolutely right. You've got to win the 3 games that you're supposed to win. You should beat Rutgers handedly. Illinois is going to be a tough matchup. Indiana is going to be a tough matchup, but they're games that you have your best chance at winning, looking at the remaining schedule. And then from there, like you mentioned, Iowa and Michigan State, if you fumble on one of the other 3 that you should win, you're going to have to make it up there if you want to be bowl eligible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but they go in again against Rutgers this week, who is sitting at 1-5.
Ryan, the big Terps fan, who has regular season tickets there, says Michigan State is possible. Ohio State and Penn State slaughter us.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Michigan State possible. Iowa maybe you got to play really good football. But yeah, Ohio State and Penn State not even close. Let's talk a little Orioles. I know it's the end of the year, and people probably don't want to hear about the Orioles. The season's finally over. We kind of talked about that a little bit last week.
I'm throwing a party. I don't know about you.
But look, I don't know how everybody out there in Birdland felt about the whole Buck and the Dan Duquette situation, and if both of them should go, if one of them should stay, if Buck should move more to a senior management role and a GM type role. Everybody has their opinions, and everybody has their views on things. I like Buck. I love Buck. But it was time. His expiration date.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, his expiration date expired. So I'm happy that this team is committing to starting from scratch, bringing in a GM from the outside, and letting that GM make the decision as to who that manager is going to be moving forward. There have been some rumors. There have been some talks about names out there, and we'll talk about that a little bit. One thing that I've heard some people clamoring about is, well, why is Brady still there, and what's Brady's role going to be moving forward? There is no guarantees that Brady will be with this team next year as well. He is right now.
He's under contract till the end of the month for now.
He's under contract for now, but if they bring in a GM that wants to go in a different direction than Brady, there's no guarantees with Brady. I don't care how much of in Angelos's pocket.
Nor should there be.
Right. You might think that Brady is. But here's the thing, and I will give Brady the credit. Brady is a smart businessman, and he's a smart baseball guy. He does have a lot of respect in the league. So I think the bigger issue here that didn't get enough publicity was you had 3 guys in Buck, Dan, and Brady that all had differing opinions. And that's a toxic formula when you're trying to build an organization and you're trying to make decisions on personnel, and you've got 3 people who can't get on the same page.
Yeah, I wanted to share this, and I wish we could put this up. Mark Viviano tweeted this yesterday morning, I believe it was. Zach Britton was speaking with Fangraphs about the difference in Yankees and O's and use of data and stuff. And he was quoted as saying, "There's a gigantic difference in how we use analytics here compared to Baltimore. I've never been exposed to that amount of information."
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Like, that just baffles my mind that Dan Duquette was in such this, oh, this is how we do things, number. Was he handing the paper to Buck, and Buck was going, I don't need this, and throwing it away?
Essentially, it's what it sounds like.
Or was Buck using it for himself but not providing it to his players? Because that's the feeling I get. Because Buck was a very by the numbers type of manager when it came to, whether he should start this guy or whether he should start that guy or whether he should bring in this pitcher or bring in that pitcher. His numbers are good here. He knew that stuff.
Right.
So you knew that stuff and didn't share it with the team? That's where I have a problem. You said it. Buck's expiration date was up. In my opinion, it was up last year. And ultimately for me, if I'm giving a GM prediction, you and I, said this, and James on YouTube actually asked if we had any general manager. I'd love to see one of three people come in.
All right.
And that's the guy that is below Billy Beane in
nameless guy. I don't even care what his name is.
Exactly.
Bring him
in Oakland, or Theo Epstein.
Good luck
bring
with
in.
that.
I'm not saying Theo Epstein. Bring in his assistant, the person below him, or bring in the guy that's the man behind the strings in Houston, or his assistant.
Yeah.
One of those three, because those three have taken teams with low payroll and taken them to the playoffs.
Houston's a great example. Houston basically gave up and gambled for first round number 1 draft picks for a few years. Basically turned the card on a winning season or even playing 500 ball for quite a few years to build. And sometimes, sadly, if your organization is that starving of prospects, that's what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do to build from the ground up. I don't think the Orioles are that starving for prospects. I guess, granted, they don't have the greatest farm system. We all know that. And there's a lot of issues down there with player development and that kind of thing. And that's a whole other thing that needs to be addressed as well as player development. But at the end of the day, I want to see somebody young, somebody analytical, and somebody with a fresh view come in. Nobody old-fashioned. Nobody that, he did it back in 1985 and he did it back in 1996 and, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about your resume from 20, 30 years ago. None of that matters now. Baseball has changed. Baseball is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago.
No, yeah.
You need somebody with a fresh perspective to come in here and bring in the same type of energy down in the clubhouse. Not, again, I don't want to see one of these older veteran managers come in.
You can't have a Dusty Baker come in here.
You don't want, you just out with the old, in with the new. That's my opinion on it. That's what I'd like to see. So, for instance, there have been some names out there that have been thrown around. For managerial, Mike Bordick's name's been thrown around.
He publicly came out and said that he's had private conversations regarding that.
I don't know how I feel about that, just because he has absolutely no managerial experience at all. Now, I'm not saying that can't work, because we've seen that in a couple other managerial spots with Gabe Kapler and Aaron Boone, But granted, they were on different teams and in different organizations that were at a different place as far as where they were. New York, you really just got to come in and be a manager of the clubhouse. Keep the personalities in order. Keep everybody motivated towards the same goal.
Same thing in Boston.
And same thing in Boston. You really just got to keep everybody in line, essentially. You got to be like a school teacher in a lot of ways.
You got to make sure
with
that
those clubhouses.
You got to make sure Aaron Judge's success isn't getting to his head. You got to make sure that Giancarlo Stanton has his mind on straight and is able to, you can do all that.
It's a different situation. What this team needs is a manager that can come in and get back to the fundamentals of certain things. defense, getting back to some of the fundamentals of fielding a ground ball, making the throws, everything needs to be fundamental, because this team is going to be one of the younger teams moving forward. You're going to have a lot of guys that are getting their first shots at the big leagues. You can't have, somebody that's going to come in and just sit back and hope that, the ship sails itself. You got to have a guy that can come in grassroots and really train these guys up from the ground up.
Yeah, and one of the guys that kind of comes to mind is the Bowie manager, Gary Kendall.
Yeah.
Look,
wouldn't be a bad idea.
You have to recognize, remember, you need somebody that's going to, this person that you're bringing into the Orioles organization as your manager is not going to be your manager when you're winning. Period. Period.
Right.
It's not. So what you have to do is you have to bring somebody in who's going to say, you've got to go back to fundamentals.
Right.
You've got to, and that's whether that's with the younger players or the older players. I'm sorry, but whoever comes in tells Davis, you're going to be in the cage before every game, and you're going to be in the cage after, during every game,
right,
for the first month until you figure it out.
Right.
If I tell you to bunt the ball down the left field line, you better be able to do it. If I tell you to swing late, keep your hands in and put the ball down the left field line with a base hit, you better be able to do it.
Right.
You are not allowed to hit a home run. And it's almost that situation of I think of Major League when it comes to Willie Mays Hayes. He comes in, he's trying to hit home runs and da-da-da. Every time you hit a home run, you're gonna give me 10 push-ups. And that's, or every time you hit a pop-up or whatever. But at the same time, that's what kind of needs to happen with Chris Davis.
Matt chimes in about Chris Davis. Great idea. Pay Chris Davis rest of the way to be the team psychiatrist. They can't fix themselves. They're going to fix everyone else. Boom. Title contenders.
That's not bad.
He needs a psychiatrist, something fierce. There's something going on inside that guy's head. I don't know if he's got a little Chris running around in his head telling him that, he sucks and you can't hit a ball. I don't know what's going on with that guy, but he's got some serious head issues.
And Matt also throws out a name, Ryan Miner.
Yeah, Ryan Miner's a guy that been down in the organization and coaching for a long time. I don't know if I have an opinion on Ryan Miner. I don't know enough about the guy. You know what I mean? I think that he fits the mold. He's a younger guy that has proven that he can coach, and he's been in the system, so he knows the organization. I don't think that's a bad idea, Matt. That would be somebody that I'd have to hear more from. I'd almost have to hear what his role would be, what his plan would be with the team, that kind of thing, to really know if he'd be a good fit. But
Connor on YouTube brings up your boy Brian Roberts as another potential candidate,
God.
and then says Jim Palmer might be a good candidate, but Chris Davis may be holding a grudge. Palmer's not going to take that, so that's
nicely
not even
played,
an option.
Connor. Nicely played. Now, Brian Roberts, I think his brain is pretty much scrambled eggs at this point. With all the head injuries and issues that he's had. I love Brian Roberts.
I think everybody's on the right track of bringing in either a guy from the minors. And look, Bowie was successful this year, but at the same time, do you risk your minor league where you're having a lot of these guys come up, or do you bring that guy up and say, all right, let's have you bring some of these players up. You coached them down there to success.
Right.
Can you coach them to success at this level?
Right.
And then you allow them to do that. But
James brings up a point. He thinks that it should be somebody fresh. It shouldn't be somebody in the organization. It should be a fresh guy. And that's kind of where I'm going with it too. I think Matt's got a valid point that Ryan Miner, just looking internally, what options do we have that are close to us? I don't like the Mike Bordick option. I don't think Brian Roberts will be an option. But I would consider Ryan Miner. Just I'd have to know a little bit more about the guy. From a GM's perspective, the hot name out there, and it's not even a rumor that it's actually real. It's just what everybody's talking about, would be Cal Ripken coming in as a GM.
No way.
No. Please no. I wouldn't mind Cal getting back involved with the major league team in some kind of advisory role.
He can do what Brooksy and Eddie are doing.
Yeah, let him come in to kiss babies and shake hands, that kind of thing.
Is it Eddie or Frank? I think it's Frank. I'm thinking about.
No, it's Eddie.
Is it Eddie?
It's Eddie and Brooks.
Eddie and Brooks.
Yeah, he can come in and kiss babies on the forehead and shake hands and that kind of thing. But I don't want this guy running the club.
You know what? He can do a lap before every game. He needs to lose a few pounds. He's put on a little bit of weight since he's moved. On from baseball. Go ahead. Come out. You can run a lap before every game. Go ahead.
I'm good with that.
The fans would love it.
We'll put the 21-31 back up on the warehouse like it's 1996. You can take a lap around. If that puts 5 more seats in the 5 more fans in the seats, I'm good with that. But no, back off Cal Ripken going into GM role. Look, I know he's well respected in the game as far as what he's done for the game and what he's done as a player. But what he's kind of done with the Aberdeen project and what he's done in some of his other ventures, nothing has proven that this guy has the ability to be a GM. Again, if he comes in some kind of advisory role and kind of slowly works his way towards that and proves that he would be a valuable asset, great. But you just don't hand the keys to a guy because his name's Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
When you're in this crucial state of a rebuild and a new direction for an organization, you don't bring a guy in that hasn't at least proven in an assistant role or an advisor something that he has the ability to do it.
So Ryan brings up that he's heard more of Billy than Cal. Interesting, because Billy
would be a good managerial candidate.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was thinking. Billy has a good fundamentals mindset. He has a good mindset of knowing and understanding the game. Look, if you ever watch Billy's Blackboard on MLB Network, he's got some good analytics and he's got numbers behind it. So if that's the way that we want to move as an organization, which I think is the right way to go, I think he's right. Billy makes sense as a manager. It could be as a potential role.
I could absolutely see that, and I speak from personal experience there. I went to a few Bill Ripken baseball camps growing up as a kid, and this guy is the real deal. What you see on TV with this guy and everything, he is as advertised. Very, very much adaptive of the Ripken way and that kind of thing, like grassroots down to the fundamentals, like all of that stuff. I think he would be a good candidate for that. Definitely not GM. I don't want to see a Ripken in the GM role. No, none of the Ripkens. But yeah, I would be open to Billy.
As a manager.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Well, we got to touch on one last thing. And that's the whole Victor Mesa and Victor Mesa Jr. showcase. They showcased in front of all 30 teams at Marlins Park. Rumors are that they may be interested in playing for Miami.
Yeah.
However, from a money standpoint, the Orioles hold the cards, in that aspect. And it's viewed by many in Major League Baseball that this will be a combo deal, meaning that whoever gets one gets both. Yeah. That is how it's viewed.
It's a 2-for-1 kind of deal with the Mesas, and I want all of the Mesas, and I want all the Victors. But at the end of the day, these guys have ties to Miami. And
it's closer to home.
For me, if I'm just looking at these guys, if I'm their financial advisor, if you're getting a substantial more amount of money from a team like the Orioles, who, one, have an easy path to the major leagues considering what the state of the Orioles is right now.
Absolutely.
Not that the Miami Marlins don't either, because they're in pretty much the same state. But if I'm your financial advisor, when it comes to contracts and when it comes to money, there's no guarantees that these guys are ever going to make it to the point where they're going to get a mega contract or anything like that they can think, well, 5 years down the road or 6 years down the road, I might be able to sign up a multi-year deal. It's going to bring me all the money that's where I'll make up the money I'm not getting on the front end. There's so many things that can happen, whether it be injuries or you just don't live up to the expectations. You don't live up to the hype. You can't. How many players do we see end up coming up, tearing things up through the minor leagues, but then they end up being 4A players? They just can't get it figured out at the major league level. That could very well be the same thing that happens with these guys. And if I'm your financial advisor, if I'm getting almost double the amount of money from the Orioles than I am from Miami, I'm taking that deal all day long.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
everything, like you said, everything out there in reports, is that, you know, the Mesas are leaning towards Miami. Now, nothing's official. Nothing's happened. Miami's rolled out the red carpet. Derek Jeter was there for the whole showcase that you mentioned and everything. So Miami's doing everything that they can to get these kids.
They're trying to persuade these guys, yeah.
Right. But, man, what a huge first move towards the rebuild it would be to bring these two kids in.
It would show the seriousness of why you went out and you got all that international signing money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, well, we got to hit the Birdland Fantasy Football Recap, Birdland BS Fantasy Football Recap. Fred, you went this week against Ryan.
Yeah. Didn't go very well with a redhead.
You were previously 3-1. Ryan was 2-2. The projection was 97, we'll call it 98 to 109 Ryan, and it wasn't far off. It was 87 to 122.
Yeah, I threw up a goose egg there. I did had a couple players. I think on my tight end got me 0. I think he went on the IR, got hurt early. So, yeah, wasn't a good week for Fredhead in Birdland BS Fantasy. Was good for a redhead as Ryan improves to 3-2 on the year. Scott, you went up against James. James in the chat room chiming in, talking to Matt there. What's going on, James, man?
James was 0-4.
Yeah.
I was 1-3. Projection 101 to 84. And final score 105 to 88. So that moves me to 2-3. And James, you're at 0-5.
0-5, James. 0-5, man. Oh, the guy that was talking shit in the draft room the entire time about his roster and making picks and everything. 0-5, James. Come on, man. Gotta ramp it up if you're gonna make it to the playoffs. I know we expanded to 6 teams, but you got to go on a streak here, my friend.
He just says BS and not the short version. I go up against so next week. Let's go this way. Next week, Christy is who you take on.
Yeah.
Projection 110 to 62. I think you had a few guys that are sitting, so you have to make some
adjustments
to really do it. And then I'm going up against PJ.
Yep.
That's going to be
assassin.
That's going to be a tight one. It's projected 120 to 121 right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be a close one, I think. And then Ryan is going up against Joe R. He's predicted 112 over 103.
Come on, Reinhardt. I need you to beat a redhead.
Yeah, exactly. And James says I can't be that good if I'm beating him. So
Joe Carlozo with the highest score of the week. 141.64 versus Gene. He had a couple of guys blow up this week. He had Brady go for a little over 30.54. He had James Conner, who had a huge fantasy day for 33.5. And then David Johnson with a good contribution at 20.1. So, Joe, congrats on having the highest score of the week.
Yeah.
In our Baltimore Fantasy League, the one that we do with all the other podcasters out there and the other sports bloggers and whatnot, we went up against John Darcy of jdfantasyfootball.com. Follow him on Twitter at jdfantasyfb. He's also a writer for Russell Street Report. We
wiped the floor with him.
Yeah, we ended up doing pretty well this week, considering we had the highest score in the league. We ended up winning that game 172 to 118. Puts us at 3-2 on the year, so a respectable 3-2. I'm all right with that. We're right there in the playoff hunt, so we're good. This week we go up against Adam Bonacorsi. Adam is on Twitter at Adam Beemore, also a Russell Street Report. He's also the co-host of the NZI podcast, Neutral Zone Infraction. Yeah, so make sure you check him out. Again, another Ravens podcast. It's a lot of fun to listen to with him and Chibs. Should be a good matchup. I think Adam is either 4-1 or 5-0 at this point in the league. So Adam's kind of running away with this league at this point. But you're going down, my friend. We
got to take him down.
We're going down. That's right. Man.
By the way, the projection is 172 to 37 for that.
Oh, 172 to 137. My bad. Yeah.
It's time for the 2-minute warning.
Man, I love that song. It reminds me of my childhood, man. I used to get so pumped up when Jordan, and now! I used to love that, man. I was always a big Bulls fan growing up. But that's right. It's time for the 2-minute warning. Scott, you are on the clock this week, my friend. Let me put up the 2 minutes here on the feed. All right. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Well, in one of the most anticipated returns to the UFC octagon, Conor McGregor lost. That's right, lost his matchup to Khabib in the 4th round via TKO. Khabib was able to get Conor on the ground early and often and finishing him off with that rear naked choke of his. Same rear naked choke he used to put on bears when he was a kid. But he won the fight. However, the fight didn't stop there because Khabib proceeded to jump out of the octagon and try to deliver a flying kick to somebody in Conor's corner. Then some of Khabib's guys from his corner jumped into the octagon and began to attack Conor. Both sides and fighters are looking at possible punishments in this scenario.
That was.
It was a mess. Go look up the video if you haven't seen it. Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas and Redskins cornerback Josh Norman feuding on Twitter after their matchup last night on Monday Night Football. Thomas calling Norman a goofball con artist and was able to start and that was just the start of the feud that went into the wee hours of the morning. Chargers longtime owner Alex Spanos, he's passed away at the age of 95. He built his fortune through real estate and construction. The pinnacle of his football legacy was when the Chargers made their Super Bowl run in 94. He will be greatly missed out there in LA, I am sure.
Sad news.
Yeah. Steve Kerr, the head coach for the Warriors, was whistled and ejected after 6 offensive fouls. If you haven't seen this video, he goes off on the ref.
Steve Kerr's a firecracker.
He is a firecracker, man. He was going off. Brock Holt. That's right. The Red Sox becomes the first player ever to hit for the cycle in the postseason play. Great move on his part. I loved it. It was a great game last night.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones is not happy about not having a true number 1 wide receiver, and he hasn't had any in years, according to him. He wants to get another one. Finally, Casey Kane finished with NASCAR after he fails to gain almost got it in. After he fails to gain medical clearance to get back to racing. He looks like he's probably done his career. He's 38 now. Yeah. You know, I know some of these guys get up into racing in their 40s, you know, and some guys have even gone into closer to their 50s.
Yeah.
But I think it looks like he's done. The other one that I didn't get to, I knew I wasn't going to, Angel Hernandez. I gotta mention. Did you see that game last night against Boston in New York?
Well, it was an onslaught, so I didn't really watch much of it. No,
I think it was 5 or 6 reviews in that game.
Oh wow, good Lord.
All of them at first base. All of them Angel Hernandez, and all but one overturned.
Does that tell you something?
Angel Hernandez has been stated by many people to be one of the worst umpires in Major League
Why is
Baseball.
he umpiring a playoff game? I mean, I know that they bring in extra, umpires and everything for the playoffs, and I guess maybe somewhere down the roads, he's factored into that top. I don't know how they do the grading system of umpires and whatnot, but this guy historically.
Well, I think what's even worse is I think he's even going to be behind the plate tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
So, and actually, ironically, there you go. James just says he's behind the plate tonight.
Is he now? Wow.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So, I mean, that's going to be the thing, moving forward is that's what we've talked about in the past. You got to hold these umpires accountable. If you have that many calls in one game, all the reviews are on you, and look, they're close plays, they're bang bang plays. I get it, but you've got to be in position. You've got to be making a pretty legitimized call, and to have 5, if it was 5, to have 4 overturned, if it was 6, to have 5 overturned, it's just not acceptable.
You mentioned the Brock Holt thing. Pretty cool to see Brock Holt hit a cycle in the playoffs that way. Now, granted, the home run was against a position player. I don't even know who it was that was out there throwing. I can't remember, but it was against a position player, and he said, in his interview that he was going to scoot up in the box, and he was just going to try to rip it down the line, and man, he did exactly what he did. He's like, I'm either going to rip this thing for a home run down the line, or I'm going to rip it right at the first baseman, one or the other, and he got it all. It's kind of cool. I'm not by any means a Red Sox or Yankees fan, but
sounds like your closet to me.
No, not at all. But kind of a cool thing to watch.
No, it definitely was. It's Manny hitting multiple home runs for the
Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Yeah, man, Manny down there holding the fort down in L.A. Go Manny.
Scopey doing well with the Brewers. It's going to be Brewers Dodgers in the NL.
Yeah. We'll see. I would like to see Manny in the thick of things come the World Series, and wouldn't mind seeing that guy get a ring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, Fred. Well, this is episode 66, the Doo-Doo Browns.
The Doo-Doo Browns. Hey, appreciate each and every one of you guys on all of these platforms, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All you guys chiming in this week. All the comments are great. We love having that interaction and being able to answer any questions that you guys have and following up with the statements you have. So appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah, and don't forget to, 750 views.
750. That's the
Get
number.
there. It's a swag bag. We want to remind all of you, visit birdlandbs.com. There you can see all of our episodes, learn about each of us, contact us, and don't forget that Birdland BS gear, Sam.
Swag! Birdland BS swag!
It is all over on there. Go check it out, especially the new one. You can also check us out, www.birdlandsports.com. We're there with other sports podcasters and writers, and there's enough content there to cover every day of the week. It's for fans, by fans. You can follow us on all of our social media accounts, Twitter at Birdland BS, at Fred Birdland BS, at Scott Birdland BS, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Be a part of the Birdland BS Nation. And if you want to hear us talk about something, use hashtag BLBS Nation, and your opinion may come up on this show. As always,
BLBS Nation. Do it on all the platforms.
Exactly. As always, be sure to check out the audio podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or any app of your choice. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next Tuesday night, same time, same places, 8:45 Tuesday night. We'll see you. For Birdland BS, I'm Scott.
I'm Fred.
We'll see you guys.
See ya.